listening to CaveRadioBroadcasting.com. The words and opinions you are about to hear are of the hosts and do not reflect the management of CaveRadioBroadcasting.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole. Today is Thursday, March 1st, year of our Lord 2018. You are listening to a Gen Pop Media production. We are broadcasting from the palatial CRBradio.com facilities in beautiful downtown Redford.
Yes, sirree.
I just want to take care of a couple things, so let me give our sponsors some love. We're talking about elder care. If you or your loved one needs extra care, a parent or anyone that needs a helping hand, call the ladies at Elder Care. They will bring peace back to your life. You can visit Elder Care at eldercarecares.com or contact them directly at 734-671-6518. Got a couple shout-outs. I want to shout out to AE911truth.org. Kelly David and the wonderful people over there who have been friends of ours for quite a long time now. And they're doing a lot of great work. There's still a lot of things to be uncovered. So support them and check out the information on their website. I also want to give a shout-out to our good friends Trina Maria and Claudio Marti. Claudio is from IamTheFaceOfTruth.com, and they have a new initiative happening through OneVoiceNow.org. Where they are trying to bring awareness to the fact that things just aren't what they seem, or at least not what you're told they are. And as always, our favorite in-house foundation, the DCDFoundation.org. They're doing good work. I can vouch for them personally because, well, I'm one of them. Doing great things. We're getting ready for a big reboot on the site, updating some media from recent events and charity giveaways, and a lot of exciting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So there's a lot of good things going on there.
There's too much going on.
Yeah, tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into that, I just want to say to everybody, remember, it's not down the conventional hole, it's down the rabbit hole. As always, don't trust any one person so that you don't carry someone else's mistake with you, including ours. Do your own research, man. Please don't take anything we say as gospel unless, well, of course, we're quoting the gospel. Because there are no more secrets, just ignorance. So, yeah. And I forgot one more sponsor. David Hooper is sponsored by Jaguar. And they just say, hey, man, don't buy us unless you live in a state that's always 40 degrees or over.
Yeah, don't drive today.
Don't drive today.
No show for you.
Hope you're okay out there and listening hoops.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll give us a call a little later.
Maybe.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
So happy March, man. Snowmageddon, the sequel.
Dude, it
was 60 2 days ago. I was in shorts.
Well, the amount that's accumulated in a short amount of time.
Yeah, those are some big snowflakes, man.
Hammered, and it's just enough, and it was warm enough to where it's just sloppy enough to conceal all the potholes.
Yeah, and people are driving like they're insane. It's like it's the first snow of the year.
Well, the only good thing about the potholes is it's put everyone's focus back on the road.
Exactly.
I actually have a good drinking game for that. Every time you see a car in a ditch, when you get home, take a shot.
You got to keep count till you get home.
See, I like to.
I'm
impatient. I like to play that game while I drive.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's...
Although we're not advocating playing this game while driving, kids.
Absolutely not. And so you win by not ending up in the ditch by the time you're done with the bottle.
I mean, I guess you win by the time you're done with the bottle. It doesn't really matter who wins anymore.
Well, ditch or not, it's a win-win.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah, polish off the bottle.
So we're gonna vary from the topic a little bit. Hopefully, we'll get into that next week because I thought Hoops had some really interesting stuff. I was really getting where he was going by the end of it. It was getting really good, and there's a whole other side to it. But I am in no way prepared to present that.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah, Dave is on a hunger strike today.
What's he protesting?
He is
driving.
Protesting cars that don't start.
And snow. He's protesting the snow.
Yeah, protesting the snow.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But I did have, I was going to hijack the first few minutes of the show, so it could turn into the entire show because...
well, let's hope.
Yeah.
Let's
yeah.
hope
So
it does.
So schools and kids. All right.
That's yeah.
So this is, and I have somewhere to go with this, so we can just let this evolve. Yeah. So roughly 2 weeks ago, we have the tragedy in Florida, right? And then within a few days of that, you have the texting moron from South Lyon Schools who decided to text his buddy, "Hey, dude, we should reenact Florida at high school on Monday." Oh, yeah. Well, he's in a jail cell for probably another couple months before he's arraigned on a $10 million cash bond.
Yeah.
So good for him. And that was bad enough. The fact that it happened at all was sick enough that there's one kid out there whose parents haven't taught him what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. But then I started noticing a trend, okay? So within a couple days, Garden City High School is on lockdown because they found a bullet in a stairwell, okay? Then last Friday, Berkeley Schools, another bullet, another lockdown. The very same day, Wayne Westland Schools were shut down after receiving a threat on social media. Tuesday, Novi Middle School students were charged with the same offense as the moron in South Lyon. Multiple kids in middle school made threats and are now sitting in jail, or at least in detention. They're middle school kids, so they probably can't be jailed.
Well, juvie.
But they're charging them with that 20-year felony, which isn't going to stick. But whatever, at least they're teaching them a lesson. Yesterday, Monroe Middle School student, was arrested for bringing an inert grenade to school.
Okay.
What?
Inert grenade,
like
a dead grenade,
basically a paperweight.
Yeah, basically a paperweight. But this kid thought it was a good idea in this day and time to bring a grenade to school. And then today, this hits close to home for you. Plymouth Canton High School was dismissed early because of a threat.
Yeah.
This is 2 weeks. Okay,
Yeah, and that's just the ones you know about.
And this is the ones we know about. This is the only reason I even know about this is because in the original Snowmageddon of a couple weeks ago, that Friday where we got pounded, I updated the Fox 2 app on my phone because that's where I check the school closings, which is really useless because if there's 3 snowflakes on the ground, my kid's school is closed.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just really need to, if there's more than 3, I know. But I updated it just for the heck of it because it was useful years ago when schools didn't close until there was 10 snowflakes on the ground. And so part of this whole update is now when my phone is off, I receive push notifications from Fox 2.
Oh, geez, that could be...
Which basically means if I want to get happy, I should never look at my cell phone because they never push any good news. It's all just bad stuff.
Of course, yeah.
And I just noticed over the last couple days how many of these things, I started counting them up. This is ridiculous. And this is just locally in Michigan.
Yeah.
How much of this is going on around the country?
More than we know about.
Just
sure.
Unbelievable.
The numbers would just add up. It's not... I find it hard to believe it's just, the Tri-County area of Michigan.
Oh, no, it's not. Kids are stupid everywhere. Parents
right now,
suck everywhere.
It is... you are seeing a trend, and I'm not sure what the trend is exactly yet. Sure, it's leading to something. I don't know what, but is it just kids trying to get out of school? Is it somebody putting the kids up to just trying to get out of school?
Well, is it kids at all?
Is it? That's my point. It's pretty easy to egg on teenagers,
and that's one of the forks in the road I want to take because after all of this, and after the crying lady on CNN, whose daughter was, tragically killed in Florida, and the first thing she does is not talk about mental health services or anything like that, but banning guns. Because that's obviously the problem is guns, not the psychos who carry them and pull the triggers. So the first thing she talks about is banning guns. Well, Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods, they have decided to legislate for us. They are going to ignore the Constitution, and they have raised the age of buying guns and ammo to 21 years old. So thank you for worrying about me, Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods. Thank you for making decisions for me. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
'cause
well,
I can't
you
make
know,
my own decisions.
They can. Other stores sell them. I don't really have a problem with them doing it. I don't like that they did it. I wouldn't have done it. But it's private. It's a business.
No, I
They
mean,
can-
then of
they can
course
do
there's United Airlines that has discontinued their NRA
Their NRA
discount.
discount? Yeah, I know.
I didn't even know there was. If I knew there was NRA discounts, I might join the NRA.
Well, it goes to show you that the brainwashing.
because that my ARP and AAA, I can get stuff for free.
I read about that too. Like it shows how either I don't know. I think it's some of the brainwashing has taken effect even on me because like I saw that NRA story and I just the the feeling I got was like that. What is this? Where are we right now? Is this my grandpa's airline? Like they have an NRA member discount.
I know,
like
it's awesome.
But that's. I don't know why I thought that. You know, like
I was
funny.
listening to who's the morning guy on Patriot. It's the new Breitbart guy, the guy who replaced O'Bannon.
Oh, Bannon, and this is a British dude.
Maybe
The British dude. I forget his name now. He's pretty cool.
Well, I was listening, and he brought up an awesome point because there was a lady who took to social media because that's where all social justice must be played out is on Facebook. Okay, and this lady took to Facebook. And she has, because FedEx is standing with the NRA. Okay, so FedEx is like, we are not discontinuing anything. No, we're not doing that. And so this lady who owns an ice cream parlor, a high-end ice cream parlor, was so distraught over FedEx standing with the NRA and not banning the NRA discount that I guess you can get through FedEx too. That she is no longer shipping her ice cream FedEx. She has moved to UPS.
Well, she can do that.
And I thought they brought up a great point this morning when I was listening to the Patriots. They're like, well, your ice cream is made from dairy cows, which are raised in unethical and non-environmentally friendly circumstances. So, you're actually hurting cows.
Well,
I don't want your ice cream anyway.
Yeah, there's no end to this nonsense. You really have to. You brought up the Constitution, which I think is poignant because this comes up a lot.
It comes up a ton.
So
by design,
pretty much what we've got going on here is it seems to be amplified from in the past. The reaction. Excuse me. There's always a reaction, but this time it seems to be a bit amplified. I think that's what we're seeing a lot with this wave of nonsense. They're getting into their heads through social media and the media, period.
Right.
Where the NRA is a terrorist organization. They kill kids. Mm-hmm. Blah, blah, blah. Now, I would like to sit down and discuss with someone how the NRA has it right, because I don't think they do, but the NRA isn't an evil organization. I mean, it's no different than really look at the numbers. I mean, they should be going after Stanley for all the people that get murdered with hammers, or Ford, or whoever. People die in cars all the time.
Sense.
So, again, logically speaking, the whole reaction, the whole thing is really crazy. Now, the NRA claims to be all about the Second Amendment, but they fail to see their folly and how they personally interpret the Second Amendment.
Right.
And what's going to end up happening, what you're seeing now, is an incorporation of the Second Amendment, which means federal oversight over that item in our Bill of Rights.
Which is exactly what they're pushing.
And they've kind of already done it.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, I'm losing my voice. I'm sorry. Been painting a lot with no mask.
Yeah.
It's probably not a good move.
Or ventilation.
But, yeah. But anyway, once you have where the president and Congress and the Senate can even sit down and draft legislation, broad, sweeping legislation about gun ownership, that's when the mistake's already been made.
Right.
When they think the Second Amendment applies to every organization or every organism from here to Pluto, it's not really structured that way. They actually kind of screwed themselves. When the reaction is, what was it, the governor from Rhode Island, right? She just signed some legislation in response to the Florida thing.
Okay.
And her statements were interesting. So you have that woman you referenced, who I think also was tongue-lashing Trump over this.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is why this mindset doesn't make any sense. It's actually a little bit mental illness in of itself.
Right.
So the governor drafts this. It raises age limits. It does some stuff. Whatever. It's not going to do anything to stop anyone from doing anything ever. Homicide is not preventable. We know this. Everybody knows this.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, saying that she can't just sit around and wait forever for the president or Congress to do something about it, about guns. And she, being governor, should know better than that, no, because the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights, which is put there to prevent federal government messing with those. That's what the Bill of Rights is for. No, you guys can't touch this. It falls back on the states then. Then the states draft the Constitution, which either mirrors the United States Constitution or they have their own amendments or whatever. But every state has its own Constitution. So if what's in the United States Constitution always applies to everything from, here to the outer rings of Saturn, then the states having one would be redundant.
Right.
They just would have one. But that's not how it works. So anything that the feds can't do, the states can do. Which is why, like in Michigan, we have mirrored the Second Amendment from the United States Constitution in our own state constitution, saying now the state can't even mess with it. So it would go down to local jurisdictions, why you can sometimes have different laws in different counties, whatever. Now they try to not do this to keep it streamlined, depending on the law. You don't want to cross the county line and then all of a sudden what you're doing is a felony.
Yeah, right.
So this makes sense. Well, everybody's got it wrong. Nobody really knows what the deal is here and how wrong they've gotten it for so long, and the whole purpose of getting it wrong, they know they have it wrong. It's not like they don't know.
But nothing's going to be done about it until the people realize they have it wrong and they stand up.
It's too late, dude.
Oh, I know, man.
Look at what's going on. It's unbelievable. I feel for those poor kids, dude. It's terrible.
I do.
But let's not look at what really caused this kid to go snake you know what.
Yeah.
Just let's focus on something that really is just addressed at the state level in Florida. What happened in Florida essentially doesn't have, not to sound insensitive, whatever, you know what I'm saying, doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what's going on in Michigan or Washington State or New York or anywhere else for that matter. Which is why we're a federal republic. It's the only way to make that kind of thing work. So all the discussions, all the debates, all this stuff about guns and all the knee-jerk reactions, when the simple fact of the matter is, no, we wish it was that easy, but there's a reason it's not that easy. Here's the reason why. We can't just have people that don't harbor the authority doing things outside of our basic guidelines. Because then it snowballs out of control. Now, it's anybody's guess how this is going to end up.
Well, I think we know how it's going to end up.
Well, I mean, end up. But I mean, this whole gun debate thing now being rehashed again because of some psycho who the system, by the way, created.
Yeah.
Okay? I will absolutely argue that.
Yeah.
And,
without a doubt.
And every single one of these guys, I bet, if you were able to have access, wonder why HIPAA laws now, you can't even get access to this stuff. They fight it even in this circumstance. Maybe there's something behind that, too, because now you can't really establish a real case study because you don't have all the information. But I would gamble a pretty large wager that a commonality between most, if not all, of these dudes that have either blown stuff up, shot up, whatever, are all or have a history of being on, like, say, ADHD medicine when they were a kid, which progresses into antidepressants when you're an adult, and anti-anxieties, and probably pain pills, and pharmaceuticals have turned these people into zombies. Sure, some people need it. There's probably helps folks, but I know personally people who have been a complete disaster because they don't even seem to know really what this stuff does. So they go, we'll start you off on this based on whatever. And then 8-10 weeks down the road, you start, something's not right. So they say, oh, we'll have to add this.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're on half a dozen different brain rewiring.
I've seen it happen.
Lots of times. And it's then this struggle.
Yeah, they end up medicating the side effects of the medication rather than finding the right medication. You just keep piling it on, man.
In this case, there may not be the right there may not even, in many of these cases, there may not even be a need for the medication.
Well, I tend to agree with you on that.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They just seem to just instantly, the fallback position right now with our young children is to dope them up out of their minds.
Yeah.
Because they're kids. Now they want to make them into little robots. And they just sit there and they're little zombies. And their brains aren't even fully developed yet, dude. They're already starting to rewire it. And it leads to stuff like this. I would bet money that if you could somehow track this, accurately, you'd find that all these guys have a similar experience when it comes to that stuff.
Well, I know that I would be willing to wager a bet that they all do have a similar experience when you track it down to what I'm going to consider the root of the problem, which is parents
or lack of.
Well, and that's what it boils down to is you've got two things at play here. The majority, the two largest groups of parents I can think of are either the parents who want their kids to be their best buddy. So they are letting them get away with murder because, hey, we're friends. I'm a cool parent. I'm a young parent. And or the parents who completely ignore their children and expect them to raise themselves. So what this really boils down to is bad parenting. And I say that in respect to the entire situation. I know that there are cases where there have been really good people who tried really hard and just ended up having kids that were too messed up to reach. But for the most part, you hear the same story over and over again. And I'm talking about especially bad parenting in regards to all these idiots that I mentioned that are either making threats or bringing grenades to school and all this stuff. If you ignore your children and don't teach them right from wrong, if you don't teach them what's appropriate and what's a joke and what's good to say. I mean, come on. If after the second one, so the first kid, okay? If after the first kid just got in trouble for all this stuff, wouldn't at that point you be smart enough to realize, wow, don't joke about that stuff? But no, we've got it going on time after time after time after time.
Yeah, dude, I mean, I'll give the kid with the inert grenade a pass because I don't really know what his intentions were. You always have that Army kid, like we used to.
I got you. And it was inert. Yeah.
It's bad timing. I get it, right? It's bad timing. But anymore, it's all bad timing because apparently.
But as a parent, shouldn't you know your child loves playing G.I. Joe and has an inert grenade?
Well, it wouldn't be like if I brought, because that would be something I would have brought to school. But it would have been very different in our time. It would have been cool because it's an inert grenade. It's a paperweight. Yeah. You could throw it at somebody.
I get you.
But that's not your point. It was like to show your buds, like, dude, check it out. I got this at the blowout sale at the Army Navy store. Yeah. Like that's perfectly normal, dude. He may have. All I'm saying is I don't know what happened with that kid. I feel like he maybe got caught up in this web.
Yeah, right.
So their reaction to that was ridiculous, dude. If they shut the school down or whatever, like they actually reacted to that, other than going, "All right, he's just a moron." Don't be bringing stuff like that to school, period. But have you looked around, like, right now where everyone's freaking out? So he may have just been kind of... Now, direct threats, throwing a bullet in the hallway, it's just clearly on purpose, dude.
Yeah.
They used bullets are interesting, dude. They're relatively harmless as they're sitting there.
Right.
Even if they go off, like, it could hurt you, but it possibly could kill you. But it doesn't really have the velocity you would think. Because you don't concentrate that energy in a barrel. So the bullet alone, really, you can't even really throw it at anyone. It doesn't weigh anything. The gun unloaded is more dangerous than the bullet.
Right.
So, but a bullet, they used a similar tool for a scam in the Philippines. I mean, it went as far as the president's talking about it. It was such a big problem over there. Where they throw a bullet in your suitcase. And then they find it in the security. This is happening in Manila big time. And like all the people in the airport were in on it. Well, not all, but the people who were in on it worked at the airport. This is more accurate.
Okay.
So it was like inside job, right? So they would slip a bullet into your suitcase, and as you know how Manila airport is, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's a circus, 24/7. So you just want to get wherever you're going, and then pretty soon the little light, goes off. Sir, can you come here, please? Search your bag, and they find a bullet. Now you're detained.
Yeah.
And then they prepare to railroad you for whatever money you can muster to pay them all off, and they're sharing the proceeds. So they used a bullet to pull this off. When really, if there's nothing else in the bag, there's no gun. I mean, hey, dummy, there's a bullet in your bag. Like, did you forget it from the range? Because that's an honest mistake, dude. I mean, you could have it in your pocket.
Sure.
And,
sure. Throw the pants in the suitcase.
You can shoot guns in the Philippines, dude. I did more than once. So it's just funny, the reaction to it. So they find a bullet in the hallway. So, I mean, if at some point you're either going to have to put a SWAT team outside of every school building or stop reacting to every time someone sneezes. Now, a threat you can't ignore, I get it. But finding a bullet in the hallway, dude? Don't you think the principal will be like, call the cops, see what they think? But I think it's a ploy, dude. I mean,
quite possibly, but then again, what if, God forbid, they didn't react to that bullet?
I do get it. But I think this could, and it is obviously snowballing into where it's going to completely hijack. Now schools are putting up designated areas to conduct walkouts, which is
stupid,
the most foolish thing I can possibly think of. I mean, if you want to efficiently kill a bunch of cattle, what do?
Yeah.
It's called a roundup.
If you're a school shooter wannabe,
it's called a roundup.
Just keep an eye on your Facebook feed, and one of your buddies is going to be like, yeah, man, we're staging a walkout.
Well, who knows
that
that's
today.
not what the motivation behind the walkout is.
Exactly.
No one's telling these kids, look, dude, you guys need to think about this. Like, the things we're dealing with here, who's the one that, because by the time it gets through the chain of the grapevine, it's bad enough before the internet. Now with kids, dude, it's real time all the time. So this you don't know who originated this idea. Before you know it spreads through the whole class, and all the kids now are going to do a walkout at lunch. When who started the idea in the first place, and what is the purpose of the walkout? Is there
I
anything?
would bet you 90% of those kids don't even know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is going on? I mean, because they had one at my daughter's middle school. And I'm like, what was up with that? And they did it like in solidarity with the victims, and I get it, dude, but there's a better way to do that. Like, I don't know, organized in the gym, because the school got involved and allowed them to do it and cordoned off the football field. And they thought this was really smart because we're going to keep the kids safe. I'm like, that is so stupid. I mean, unless you've secured the perimeter, what did you just do? What did you just do?
Yep.
Now you got a football field full of kids. That's real smart. And the building's empty, for the most part. Even smarter. Dumb, dude. Really dumb. But you're right. You don't teach kids, like, hey, don't be doing that stuff. Here's why. If you don't have conversations with your kids about it, they're just talking to their other, friends. So they don't.
Yeah, they're, a lot of kids are raising themselves nowadays.
That's it. I mean.
And that, which brings me to another point, which kind of corresponds with the show, is the fact that in the 60s, 70s, if your parents were working a lot, kids were home alone. Back then, they were raised way more in the church, biblically. They probably read a Bible. Prior to 1963, they were teaching Bible in school. And,
that's an interesting point.
And so, if you're raised in a church environment, whether you believe all of it or not, you at least have the slightest apprehension to do some of these crazy things, because if your parents aren't watching you, God is.
Yeah.
And I think that throws in a reluctance that's been completely removed, which is all part of the agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, because I'm just thinking back, because we're a big, we were a big gun family. Like, so we have guns. We're sports men.
Right.
I used to hunt constantly.
How many times was your school closed down due to a an active shooter threat.
No, we were allowed to have guns in our vehicles if we were going deer hunting and stuff. Like if we were going on a hunting trip on the weekend. And this was in Metro Detroit. This isn't like we lived up north.
Yeah, right.
Like, they hunt from their classroom, I think, up north. And good for them.
Yeah.
They closed school for rifle season. I mean, we were always jealous of that. But anyway, we start from a real young age being taught and how to handle them, and we've been around them. It was not a big deal, dude. I mean, it was not. You never would have. I remember somebody brought a rifle for show and tell, dude. Like, it was a big deal. It was great grandpa's something, and whatever. And it was totally legit, dude. Took it on the bus, cleared it with the school, but the fact is that the school cleared it,
right? Because
the kids. This was a historical thing, and it still was a functional firearm.
Right.
If I remember, I think it was maybe Civil War. I don't, or maybe it was. I was pretty young, but anyway, that would have been totally normal. It was a very different country in a lot of ways back then.
Oh yeah,
and that wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
But we were at least exposed to the Catholic Church. We were at least raised from when we were young till about, maybe 10 years old. Pretty much, going to church and stuff. So what you said has a point. I mean, the parents tie into it, but...
well, I mean, if we weren't, we're talking about our generation. There's a steep decline in Gen X. I don't know what side of Gen X you're on, but between, my generation and the baby boomers, as far as... fear of God. We'll just go straight up fear of God, going to church, Sunday school, all that stuff. And it gets exponentially smaller, luckily, until you hit Gen Z, but that's a whole topic for a whole nother show. And I think as you start to remove the Bible and the Ten Commandments from your life, that precipitates, these kind of things happening.
Well, that and the culture has radically changed.
Well, there's the whole idea of responsibility. Nobody's responsible for anything. That started with my generation. I have to, not personally, but generationally, take credit for that, where something is always someone else's fault. You can blame somebody.
Yeah, you have that, but the specificity, is that the right word, of this instance here we're talking about, there's guns involved. And I'm just thinking about this in my head as you're talking, that when you're raised and you hunt and you're learning how to use guns for the purpose of hunting, which was basically, and target shooting, but basically we were being trained up to go hunting. So when you learn how to use firearms in that environment and you're hunting, you instantly get to see what firearms do. And then you realize that these things kill things. So if you go deer hunting for the first time, you're a kid, and you shoot a deer with a rifle, well, when you go get that deer, you see what a rifle will do.
Right.
You just shot it, it's dead, you can see the damage, you're going to gut this thing, you're going to see the damage to the organs, you see it inside out, dude. What happens to that animal that you just shot? Now, it's for food, I got no problem with this, but the reality is that that you just took that life and you know it.
Right.
You know that. And we're not going to get into the philosophy whether hunting's okay or not. It's just a ludicrous discussion. But if you want to kill something and eat it, I think you're okay there. it's just fine.
Only been done
it's
for
totally
thousands
fine.
of
Yeah,
years.
it's totally fine. And if you don't think that's okay to go hunting in order to feed your family,
you better be a vegetarian.
Well, I think Ted Nugent said it best: is then you have you know what for brains, and he's right because. Of course you can do that and feed your family. But anyway, the point is I wonder now, the idea of guns then, I had my own guns under my own control when I was 14 years old. But they were all for hunting. So I had squirrel gun, rabbit gun, like we just were hunters, so they were for no other purpose other than that. And I'm not saying I would never use it in self-defense, but you don't think that way when you're 14 so much, and really there wasn't much to worry about. I mean, you knew that you had it if you needed it, whatever.
Right.
And everyone had a shotgun for that reason, or a handgun, whatever. It was fine. But now, think that's probably, I'm guessing, on the decline or at least plateaued as far as how many people take their kids hunting and teach them how to use guns for the purpose of hunting, go fishing, where you actually see what is the end result here. I mean, you shoot a deer with a 30-06 and you're going to know darn quick.
And see, as someone who didn't grow up as a hunter, I only shot guns in Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
at a target, which was not living or moving. But that's a good point. I can see where you're coming from on that, and where I'm kind of going with this is it's just a symptom from a much larger problem. That it only makes sense that people wouldn't respect guns now because they don't respect anything.
Yeah, I mean it's. Because even, I've killed a lot more targets than animals. And you say you only shot at a target. Like, that's probably the most common thing people do with firearms in this country is target shooting. It's recreation. It's actually a skill. It's not that easy, and not everybody's good at it. You can be decent at it, but, it definitely isn't just a barbaric, There's some finesse there. I mean, it's definitely a skill.
It takes skill. It takes practice. It takes discipline
for sure. And the discipline part is what I was getting to. Is when you go to a range, unless you're shooting on Grandpa's farm, but even if you're shooting on Grandpa's farm, you're going to get the rules, right? You're going to get okay, the horses are over in that field. Yeah. You only shoot towards the woods. Don't you ever point that gun? All the rules.
Yeah.
You don't load it till you don't point a gun at anything you don't wish to kill. Like this whole idea. And it gets hammered into your head because the worst case would be if you go to the gun range somewhere to shoot, like with the Boy Scouts, and screw up and shoot your buddy in the back. This is going to be a big problem.
Yeah. And
if even from target shooting what the power of a firearm.
Oh, yeah.
So if you see it go through a 4x4 post, you're like, oh. Even when you're a kid, you get that, dude, and you see the destruction. You heard the noise. You felt it because you shot it yourself.
And we were playing with 22s, so...
And even that, I mean, at 22, you can do real damage with a 22. So it's lethal, no doubt. But I think the real, and I don't know, because there's been some talk that makes sense about what to do about this. Some. Most of it is irrational cackling from, the kooks everywhere. On both sides. I mean, on all sides. It's just, the kook fest is unbelievable. When really, I know kids died. I'm not trying to minimize it. But it would be no different than, you have to look at this like if you're a lawyer and somebody in your family was murdered or a victim of a crime, you couldn't be involved in that court case because you have a family relationship with...
Right.
Someone involved in, I don't even know if it's a good example, but you kind of get my point. Cops won't get involved in stuff like if it's a direct relative, usually because it's a bad idea. You're biased from the get-go.
Right.
You have to kind of look at the situation in those terms because if you're just going to have an emotional breakdown every time somebody dies for any reason and not really think about it, we have tragic things that happen all the time. Mm-hmm. Everybody does at some point. We have to look at it in a rational fashion because if we are not careful with this and, you get all these shooting from the hip, you got the politics so thick and layered that this could backfire so quick and a lot of innocent people could find themselves in a lot of big trouble and possibly completely turn their lives upside down because of the stroke of a pen. Someone who's normally never done anything wrong but work, pay taxes, raise kids, go to church, be normal, you know what I'm saying? Just normal whatever guy or girl, and now all of a sudden finds themselves a felon because somebody decided to sign a foolish document the night before at the state's capitol or in D.C. or whatever. It's important to really look at this and be smart about it because like I said, there's been some common sense talk, but very little. But there probably are some things they should do, but like mental health comes up, but then they never really talk about it. It just gets thrown around. There's not really anything being done about it. I mean, And they would mess it up anyway, because anything government touches, they
Right.
completely destroy.
And if you get anybody having a serious discussion about the lack of mental health care, then they're just immediately going back to the Republicans.
Again, dude, with health care, mental health care, we should keep the government the hell away from
Dude,
this.
I agree. I'm just saying that whenever there's a serious discussion about it,
I mean,
they just divert attention away from the issue to blame the party that was in power when mental health when mental health care got gutted, that was one of Ronnie's byproducts.
well, again, here's the problem with this now. We have Obamacare, we have whatever the Affordable Care, whatever you want to talk, however you want to label it. Basically, government now controls at least a part of our healthcare system, which includes healthcare benefits, etc. If you call what they're doling out a benefit, I mean, it at
Right.
least we still all have health insurance of some kind, but well, not all, but you get my point. But they have some now authority over this stuff, so they're going to toss around this mental health thing as a political football, right, back and forth. You did this, you didn't do this, da 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 da. And then it's going to boil up to the point where they'll just, well, you guys just have to do something about it.
what?
Well, then they do something about it, and that's when the disaster
Right.
begins. Because anytime they do something about it, quote unquote, we got to do something. Anytime they do something, it's never the right thing. They always screw it up somehow. Even if it starts out a good idea, dude, they muck it up, no doubt. Now, you hand over oversight of mental health as an issue that could preclude you from your constitutional rights to keep and bear arms based on the United States Constitution and the state constitution in which you live, then how easy would it be? Because it's almost like a backache. You can't prove
Right,
it.
because like everything else, it'll get common sense will go out the window eventually, and then the next thing you know, someone who has postpartum depression and
Dude.
goes on antidepressants will now be forever disqualified. They'll be red flagged and never able to own a gun again.
Which is what you're saying when you do this, by the way.
Yeah, I hear.
What you're saying to this person is that you are a future criminal. We know now. There's clearly going to be cases where, this guy doesn't need guns or a driver's license or whatever. Like,
right, but there
there's
have to be other mitigating factors besides having a mental health issue.
Well, that's the thing is what are the mental health issues and this it goes on and on, because again, what happens if your relative dies? Everybody that's got the same last name or any genealogy link whatsoever is red flagged because they may be grief stricken, or you get diagnosed with a disease that may or may not be curable. Do they come in and raid your house now, red flag you because you're potentially traumatized now? I mean, what does that say for people who actually serve this nation? If you're a cop or a firefighter or a paramedic for that reason, or especially a veteran of a war that saw combat, do you really think this government is going to allow you to keep your Second Amendment rights when you get back on domestic soil after what you just went through? We can't possibly trust your state of mind.
No way.
You see where this is going to go. Guarantee it. And now they can tie it in with the health insurance because it's all under their umbrella now. So this is frightening stuff, dude. It very well could be if you got into a, better. Maybe you had a long day at work. Boss is riding you, whatever. It happens, dude. We all have, someone peed in your Wheaties that morning. It happens, dude. On the way home, you get in like a road rage thing. A cop sees it, pulls you over. Just to, hey, dude, whatever. Well, now, how far is this going to go? And people will say, well, that's just paranoid. It'll never look. I don't think you can really say that about anything anymore.
No.
That it'll never, we've had atrocities on the face of this planet that, you can't possibly say, oh, that'll never happen. Because it has before, and people are regressing, if anything. We're not advancing.
Absolutely.
Look what's going on with the youth. They're out, and you can't say everyone, but they're like completely losing their minds. And anymore, I mean, I think you read Lord of the Flies when you were a kid, right?
Everybody did.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what happens when you leave a bunch of kids in control. I'm not saying they don't have a right to speak or, say what they need to say, of course, but there's a time and a place for this. And during the school day is not it.
Right.
We have to maintain some structure, or else they will structure it for us.
Mm-hmm.
They will. Oh, and it's like they're begging them to.
Yeah.
This is the frightening part is, we were reading Bill Cooper's book. Dude, he called this in 91, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
He called it play-by-play.
He was almost prophetic.
Play-by-play called this, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And he was spot on accurate. Totally had it right.
He knew. He was involved in the intelligence agencies. He knew the game plan.
You see it manifesting now, and you're like, dude, Cooper had it right when he said that the middle class will literally beg the government to remove the Second Amendment. And that's exactly what's happening.
Exactly what's happening.
Exactly what's happening.
And the thing is, before we go to break, we'll finish up with this. The thing is that it's not even the entire middle class. What it is through using the media, be it social media or mainstream media or whatever media is going on.
Yeah, well.
Okay. They are amplifying a small percentage of all voices, but that's all you hear constantly.
Well,
they've got enough of different groups that they're doing it, because actually only 1 in 3, only 1/3 of Americans will even consider gun control legislation.
Right.
But by the groups of people you have on television, and the fact that all you hear is gun control after gun control after gun control, and the newspapers are gun control, and mainstream media gun control, you would think that 75% of the country wanted gun control, and it's just not true.
Well, that's a brilliant point, because that's exposing what's going on in the media. Because you're right, it doesn't represent the majority of anybody. Actually, what you're seeing. I think 1/3 might even be high on, for anyone who thinks that what they're talking about doing isn't going to do much except mess with people that don't need to be messed with. So the reactions to these threats, they're in a tough spot. I get it, but the problem is, if you let how long you let this go on, where these kids, the only time they want to get the afternoon off school, they can just do something like this. Eventually, you're gonna have to draw a line. Yeah.
Well, you're just gonna have to go back to a line that's been crossed, 10 times, 10 feet further.
Yeah, I know, but it's like they're kids, so you always hear the stories where it probably happened to somebody where they get in trouble, get arrested, the folks let them sit in jail for a while.
Yeah.
That kind of a lesson, instead of emptying the school out. And again, okay, there's a cost, but the cops always come to investigate anyway.
Right.
So why don't you just send some dudes in SWAT gear? You get a threat? All right. We're ready for it. Have them camped outside every door.
Well, that might mess with their feelings.
And you're still going to school. So we find a prison. It's just a threat. This happens all the time. You can't ignore it. We're not ignoring it. But if it becomes where it's quite obvious that this is just, becoming a, oh, ha, 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 something to post on Snapchat, then it's a problem, dude. And it's in response to something that's, not a joking matter at all. So how do you respond to it when it's real? So it'd be so lackadaisical anymore. Oh, someone else, put a backpack in the hallway.
And again, they're setting up the next tragedy by crying wolf, because if we now become desensitized to the concept of school shootings, and people are threatening all the time, then there's gonna be one guy who's not nearly as smart as you are, who tries to be rational I said, oh, I'm not going to be the principal that gets messed with this, where these kids are not getting off today.
And the threat's real.
I
get it, dude.
everybody ends up dead but the principal.
It's the catch-22.
Yeah.
You know, they're in a tough spot. I'm not taking that away from them. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be involved in that nonsense.
No, I wouldn't either.
What a total you-know-what storm that is.
It's just insane, and it's just it has to do with not only the erosion of biblical morality, but the erosion of common sense, which goes with it, the erosion of responsibility and accountability. And it's just, I don't even, well, actually, I do know how it's going to get fixed.
Yeah, it will.
It's all going to get fixed, and it's going to get fixed by fire.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
I think you're right about that.
Last time it was water, next time it was fire.
I think you're right.
Maybe
it's at least
time
alluded
after
to.
That'll be air.
Yeah, it's at least alluded to that it'll be fire. So.
No, well,
it's not going to be water, so.
Yeah, I don't, it's going to be fire. I think it's going to be fire.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be fire.
Yeah.
I think you got that right.
Yeah. Well, burn it down. What can you do? Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with Facebook algorithms. Welcome back. It's just me and Dave today. We're just here arguing, ciphering, figuring stuff out,
politicking,
and this weekend I know where Dave's going to be. Dave's doing some work on one of his other ventures, DCDLabs.com. Dave is a burgeoning artist, and he's going to be down at Autorama this weekend.
Yeah, all weekend.
Starting tomorrow.
Yeah, sometime. And
he's going to be upstairs painting and pinstriping and showing off artwork and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, it's a big event, dude. It's turned out to be. I've never done anything like this before, and I've never been to Autorama before, so I've never actually witnessed any of this. I've kind of heard about it, but it's a competition they have. It's for charity. It supports Leader Dogs, so that's kind of cool.
Okay.
So what they do is a bunch of artists come in from all over. And it's called the Art and Brush Challenge. You can find it if you search Facebook. It's got all the information on there. Autorama.com might have info about it.
Okay.
But anyway, it's put on by a couple sponsors. I think Sada, they make paint guns. Inspire makes paint. And there may be a few others. But they got some pretty high-end judges, dude. I mean, some pretty impressive lineup they got coming in to judge the artwork. So it's a 3-day thing. The art has to be airbrush and hand brush of some kind. Typically, you do pinstriping, but if you don't pinstripe, you can do lettering or what. It has to be with the paintbrush and the same piece, and you can basically paint anything. So what they do is they want a piece of art from every artist each day, and the one that you paint on site. You could paint all three if you're that fast, but the one you for the competition has to be done on site during Autorama. With what they provide. You can use your own tools, but they provide the paint. You can provide the substrate, but they have panels if you need them. And what's really cool is they auction all this artwork off.
Oh, that's
I don't know if they do it each day. They may. I don't really know how it works. They judge the contest on Sunday, and there's sweet prizes, and it's just really cool exposure for all of us that are into this, thing. Especially there's guys that do this for a living, and they're some phenomenal artists are going to be in one spot all weekend. It would be worthwhile if you like cool stuff like that, if you like art, pinstripe stuff, like old school, if you're into that kind of stuff, who knows what you might find down there. Maybe a helmet, it might be a vase, I don't know. I mean,
guitar, we could get a guitar going.
Maybe, it could be pretty fast, but the problem is it's all water-based paint there only, but there'll be some neat stuff. So, and then all the proceeds go to Leader Dogs. In fact, the Autorama, they donate the space for this competition as well. So it's really cool. And it would be neat to go check out if you're looking for something to do in the city. It's pretty cool.
It's Cobo, right?
It's Cobo Hall.
Yeah.
A lot of really nice cars there, a lot of really talented folks.
We got a buddy who's going to have a car downstairs.
Yep, my buddy will have
Terry Blair with his 52 Merc.
That's right, and that's a fantastic car. So
It is.
He had to drive down there in this weather today. I think he made it before the snow. It was just rain.
I hope so.
But I mean, it's a custom hot rod, so he's got no defrost, he's got no windshield wipers.
Yeah.
None of that stuff, works yet. So, but none of those guys have that, and then they're old, cars. So they must have had a fun trip downtown today.
I can only imagine.
Ugh, But if it was in the rain, it wouldn't be so bad. As soon as that snow started,
Oh, yeah.
I was fogging up, and I have full defrost in the Fusion, so I can only imagine. But, Autorama this weekend.
Yeah, so go check it out if you get a chance, and
cool.
stop by and say hi to Dave, and you can talk about God, conspiracy theories, whatever you want, man. Pain.
Yeah, you'll be staring at my back.
Wrestling.
So I'll be
Pro
painting.
wrestling.
Yeah. But
Dave
very
will
cool.
talk about it. Stop down and see Dave. Say hi. Tell him Howard sent you.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Facebook algorithms. A lot of people are Facebook themselves is taking credit for large credit for getting Trump elected. They're saying that's the place. I mean, I know I talked a lot about it. Facebook did factor into not in the way maybe they intended it to, but certainly factored into my decision to participate and vote and
right
and the candidate I voted for. Now that they've taken credit and they feel that they played a large role in getting Donald Trump elected. In January, they've changed their algorithm to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again.
It's the Russian bot thing?
No, they have actually, because it's all algorithmed on Facebook.
Yeah.
But they have found a way to skew the algorithms so that it disproportionately affects Donald Trump and his ilk, the conservatives, the deplorables, more than it does the Democratic White Knight Party.
So they're going to fix it by doing the same thing in reverse?
Like I said, they have found a way with what they have done. It is Donald Trump is getting about a 45% decrease in traffic.
Period. Okay.
Period. I believe it was 45 during a control period and 33% overall. But when you look at Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who are obviously on the other side of the fence, and we won't see them in eternity, they are not getting those same numbers. They're minor in comparison, less than 10% decrease.
As far as traffic.
As far as traffic and reach on posts. See, this is the thing is. You pay money. I mean, Facebook is just pumping you. I mean, I put a post out there on Facebook, $10, you can reach 750 people.
Right.
And so Facebook is just pumping this boosting of posts to extend reach. And, obviously Clinton used, I mean, sure, any smart political candidate would use it. Why wouldn't you?
That's paid advertising.
But, when Trump puts his money in, doesn't seem to be as effective as the same money on the other side of the fence.
That's interesting because if you wanted traffic, so you're paying for it.
Yeah, you're paying for it.
Do they? Because they don't focus on you or I with algorithms, as far as we know. We're like part of the general population, so to speak.
No, I don't think they're trying to stifle what you and I are saying.
But
yet
they're actually controlling general traffic.
Yeah.
Based on a person.
Yeah, based on a person.
Well, what if that person's paying money to extend their reach?
Well, I believe that it's still, I mean, there are millions and millions on Facebook, so depending on if it's reaching, it's just not reaching as broad an audience. I mean, I guess they have what they've done in the algorithm is they're making sure that Donald Trump is only hitting the deplorables. Okay, it's only hitting the worst of Donald Trump's followers, which, the left accuses us all of being. They have found a way to take those moderate conservatives like you and I bet you his post, I mean, I haven't seen a Donald Trump post in months. And I followed Donald Trump.
Well,
I did it back with the election, and now it's just there. Yeah. But I haven't seen anything. I mean, I used to see 3 posts a day from him. And now I haven't had a chance to go through my news feed since I heard about this and read about it. But I honestly, I would be surprised if I've seen a Donald Trump post in the last 2 weeks. Wow. And this was all put into place in January. So they've tweaked the algorithm so that it's going to the people who are registering, 90% Donald Trump and wouldn't consider anything else. And
so if your page is like Donald Trump fanboy,
you're going to get
You're going to get targeted.
Yeah.
That's
But if you just
funny.
defended Donald Trump a couple times in your post and stuff like that, and you aren't a NRA member, there's not a Confederate flag on your page, which is pretty much you and me. I'm thinking you're going to get seriously reduced traffic from Donald Trump, even though you follow him.
Oh, that's weird. All right, well, thus the need for an alternative platform,
Exactly.
I guess. And YouTube,
Exactly,
too. I mean,
ironically.
somebody would start up a new YouTube. That's even getting weird.
Yeah. YouTube is now starting to get weird as well.
Advertisers are pushing the...
And let's not even talk about SoundCloud.
Well, that's, but I mean, advertisers are pushing the envelope for that.
Yeah.
So if I don't know, Coca-Cola doesn't like... And I'm just using that as an example. I don't want to get sued by Coke.
Sure,
but,
right.
Whatever company XYZ says, we don't like that opinion, so we're going to cancel our advertising dollars if you don't start filling. It kind of defeats the purpose of the whole thing in the first place. That was the whole point of it.
Well, if that was actually the purpose, I mean, I think the
whatever-
purpose of Facebook was to make Mark Zuckerberg money.
Well, that I'm talking about YouTube. So
right.
If advertisers yank their money, they actually start driving the content of YouTube.
Much like mainstream media.
Yeah, so if you don't like it, so there's if you see them secreting themselves into our alternative media outlets, well, don't be surprised. I mean,
it doesn't surprise me in the least. It surprises me that Zuckerberg took 2 years to do anything about it.
Well, that's just what we know. I mean,
yeah, right.
Who knows what they're doing? I don't know what they're doing, but I don't know, man. It just is. It's no surprise that it just begs the question: when will? Because you're going to have folks that are in this headspace where they're on board with all this stuff, curtail the speech. Stop the hatred, stop the videos about this, ban guns, this, start, everything, do this, do everything. It begs the question is, when do they stop this?
Well, when they get their one world order. I mean, the answer is they never stop.
I think that's probably the right answer. Because
they never stop. There will never be enough control for these people.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything. I mean... you run out of stuff to control, then what?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see where the logic plays out in any of this.
Well, I mean, they give you the logic. They tell you they're doing this to protect you and provide a safe environment. And when you're completely brainwashed to everything else, you just believe it. Oh, the government has my best interest at heart. Anybody who's going to look you in the face and go, I can't believe my government could perpetrate something like 9/11. I can't believe my government would even consider that, let alone carry it out. When someone says that to you, those are the people. They believe that, someone says that, well, I think Barack Obama is an eloquent speaker and a very respectable man. Then they're brainwashed.
Well, that's the more favorable opinion they'd have you believe. That's the more favorable opinion. So people like that get open access to all of our free outlets, whereas people who hold a different opinion, the other guy who would say Obama was the most radical president we ever had, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that guy's not, his opinion is not okay. This is what they're saying.
Right. You're not allowed to have...
You're not allowed to have, whatever happened...
A differing opinion.
Whatever happened to the porn logic, right? And I just use that because it's like the whole mindset that if you don't like it, turn the channel. I mean,
right.
Kind of idea. That was the whole idea.
Right.
Kind of, right? You remember people saying that.
Yep.
The whole thing came up, I think, with satellite radio started, and you can swear on the air because it's not controlled by FCC because it's satellite, so they can say whatever they want on there. And that was the response. Well, this is a paid subscription thing. It's costing these people money, so if you don't like it, then it's up to you to turn the channel. Don't listen to it then.
Right.
But we're not even talking about vulgar stuff. I understand that. You don't want to have, hidden camera footage of your, buddy with a hooker in the alley all over for your kids to see. I get it. But it's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is literally opinions.
That's where we're going, though.
And it's
I mean,
there.
look at what we've seen happen in the last 2 years to opinion.
Yeah. No,
when you had, a couple years ago, when you had a different opinion with someone, you may even argue about it, get a little red face, but again, you walk away friends. We've watched the 2016 election separate families.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I
still
can't,
to this day. Still,
yeah, still to this day.
Yeah, some people don't speak.
They will not speak
because you are not a human being anymore because you voted for.
Yeah, you voted for Donald Trump.
Or
how
whatever.
Could you not vote
the other way too
for the Mother Teresa of the Democratic Party?
Yeah, to the other way too.
Yeah, and the other way.
You didn't vote for.
But the funny thing is, and I realize this is a small control group. I'm not naive, okay. But the funny thing is, I don't know anybody that did it the other way. I don't know any conservatives, and I know some kooky conservatives, okay? Some dudes that I don't want to be associated with. But honestly, I think all of them, even though they almost disgust me more than the radical liberals, I don't know any of those people who had a liberal friend and went, I'm not talking to you anymore. But I can't tell you how many moderate, not even political, not even mean, not even really jerks, liberals just dropped people on Facebook, stopped hanging out with people, ruined friendships.
Yeah, and that's probably a fair evaluation.
And I admit, it's a small control group. I know a few hundred people, okay?
Yeah, right.
But I'm saying that of all those, what I do know is if there were any, which I don't know of, I can probably come up with a couple dozen of my friends who lean in the liberal direction, and a handful that won't even talk to me. And I wasn't even radical. I tried to discuss it, but I never even got really heated with people.
Yeah, no, that's probably fair. I mean, there is a definite mindset that seems to follow
and if you
that
can't,
crowd more.
I mean, if you can't realize, that's the whole thing. We talked about it last week. I believe what I believe, okay? And I believe what I believe because I've researched it, because other people I respect believe it, and they have given me support in what I believe and given me their opinions and their experiences to draw from, and that has helped strengthen my belief in what I believe. Okay?
Yeah.
At any point, if someone wants to come up and give me as concrete evidence for the opposite, I am willing to sit down and talk to them. I am always willing to listen to a well-researched argument. I may not agree with you.
Right.
There are certain facts you would have to prove to me, and I happen to extremely strongly believe within the 99 percentile of knowing that you can't prove these things to me. But if you could prove these things to me, it would probably change my beliefs. It could change an opinion.
Yeah, fair enough.
I know that personally. Let's see. For 48 years. Well, okay, maybe not when I was little, but okay, so like 35 years. For 35 years, I was pro-choice. I know that. Yeah. I mean, I know that for a fact. And being pro-choice influenced my political decisions. Okay, if a moderate conservative was pro-life, they had to be on with me on every other point, or I wouldn't vote for him because I was pro-choice. Okay, and I thought that's what was right. And then I had a conversation with you, and when we talked about it with my changing belief system, finding out the things that I now believe without a shadow of a doubt to be true, you totally changed my opinion and made me see where it's wrong.
Yeah, because I was the same way. I actually probably took it a step further than you and thought they should crop dust areas, but whatever.
Yeah, I disgusted with myself because I actually counseled a friend when I was in my 20s
Look, we've
and
all
like
been,
backed up the decision. I'm like, no, dude, it just makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I've been there. I've said those words. I think most of us have been involved in this one way, shape, or form, unless, of course, you've always been pro-life your whole life. But I wonder how strongly pro-life people who don't have kids / have never been involved in that situation personally or closely would really even understand what they're even talking about.
I got you. Well, I mean, I thought I did. I thought
Exactly.
I did because I was pro-choice, and I would even tell them, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't consider that.
I had the same.
I mean, that's where I was. It's like
Yeah.
I was pro-choice, but I would never. But my choice would always be life. Okay, when I was pro-choice,
That was me too.
But in understanding the ramifications, the whole 9 yards, and what's really behind everything, yeah, I'm pro-life now.
Yeah, I'm right there, dude. It is.
I mean, I'm not holding a picket sign at an abortion clinic. That's not the way I do pro-life. But I'm no longer pro-choice.
No, well, I mean, now how could you be, given knowing what you know now? But
yeah.
and in all fairness, you were there before. I was definitely there. Like I said, I would have prescribed crop dusters for whole regions of people at one point in my life. I was kind of a nasty person. And I had zero problems. I didn't even care. It didn't register with me. It was kind of like with people I know who were in these situations. I've never been in that situation personally.
Yeah, neither have I.
I have 4 kids. So I was always pro-life either way. But that was with my own situation, right?
Right.
But I've said that before. I'm like, dude, if she's down with it, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like $300. Go pay cash to get that done. Kind of thing. I've said that. And I was wrong, but, I don't want to go down the whole abortion discussion too much, but we get sidetracked big time on that.
Right. That's a whole show in itself.
But to go to show you that, this goes to show you how you can, those are 2 very different belief systems. I mean, just to break down what pro-choice and pro-life really is. Some people are, of course, you got quacks everywhere. Some people probably think it's okay to just deliver the kid right in the campfire. It's fine.
Right.
There's that extreme. Then there's the extreme where, in any case whatsoever, don't you dare touch that. In fact, charge the mother with crimes if she doesn't buckle up or what. You got that crazy crowd too.
Yes.
And the truth falls somewhere in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
But you can't.
But the point I'm trying to make is that is something that was a belief. That was one of my don't cross that line
which
things.
Is weird, right?
But when someone came to me, when someone came to me and provided an argument that was just as well thought out and researched as my own opinion, because I don't do opinions lightly.
Yeah.
If I'm going to give you my opinion, I've thought about it.
Right.
Okay. And this was obviously something that was very important to me, and I changed my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I can. It's these smug people that walk around that when you voice an opinion opposite of theirs, the first thing out of their mouths is, they're always crapping on the United States. Then you want to hear about slavery. It's like, oh God, here we go. Slavery and women's rights. Okay, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now throw guns in there.
Yeah, throw in guns.
And,
Yep. Gays.
too.
Yeah, you got to throw in the gays.
That's back on center stage, by the way.
Yeah, and that's the playbook.
Well, it's utter chaos, dude. We are living in a real life carnival scenario.
We are.
It is bizarro.
Except
world.
there's no cotton candy, man.
Dude, it is. It's bizarro land. I mean, just you could go on and on for hours about how upside down it really is. And they expose themselves all the time. So now that you have a different outlook on this, if you saw this, you'd probably pick up on it too, because it becomes obvious. But remember that senator? She's like 50 or something. And she'll be the first woman to give birth while being a member of the Senate. It was like a big deal.
Oh, okay. I didn't know anything about it.
It's been a little while since this happened, but anyway, she's older too. She's like 50 years old or something. So she's basically a liberal Democrat type.
Okay.
So you got all of the the left coming out of the woodwork to congratulate her on her pregnancy, and absolutely congratulations.
Yeah,
I hope everything goes well,
Mm-hmm.
and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And just hopefully she doesn't raise another kook, but whatever.
Odds are, if she's a liberal,
Well,
senator,
whatever.
there's
So
not much chance.
But you can, in this scenario, you can remove all that for a minute and say, hey, the woman's pregnant, she's going to have a kid. And it's a little risky. She's a little older, so, And here we got a woman in the Senate going to give birth while being a sitting senator. And I guess that's a big deal because it's the first one. So, cool. All right, we'll recognize
I'm shocked it's the first one.
I know, but okay, it is, and that's cool if you want to celebrate that. I'm not going to take that away from you.
Sure.
But what's ironic about it is the people that are congratulating her on her pregnancy. Because what exactly are you congratulating her for? What are you congratulating her for? You're congratulating her on
getting pregnant?
Because she's pregnant, so congratulations. Okay. But keep in mind the political spectrum we're talking about. So this is all pro-choice, abortion is fine, people.
Okay.
So they're congratulating, because it's not, it's not murder, it's a right, the whole line of thought process. So, but they're congratulating this woman on her pregnancy. And of course, congratulations. But what you have to say, okay, well, it's weird. What are these people even congratulating her for? She's only pregnant.
Yeah, gotcha.
Congratulations for what exactly? Well, because she's going to have a baby. Oh, she's going to have a baby. Okay, but she's still pregnant right now. But you understand where this is coming from, because that's lunacy. Because congratulations from somebody that claims to have that belief system should wait until the baby's delivered and they decide that
because at any point she could decide to terminate that pregnancy.
That's
and it would
right.
be well within her rights.
Because it's not a person yet, remember?
Yeah.
That's your whole argument in the beginning, is the whole thing is it's not a viable human yet until we know.
Right.
Until we know, no. But congratulations anyway on what, your fetus? Or what do you call it now? Your whatever.
What is it?
So, again, it just... It goes to show you they're not even. They really don't believe that. It's something else that they don't either.
Well, I don't think they know what they believe.
That's what I mean. It's just
they're
like you wear a pink shirt, and I'm not taking away from breast cancer. I just use it as an example. Wear a pink shirt that's got some fancy phrase on it, and go hold a sign up at some march, and really do nothing but spend a bunch of public money in the process. I mean,
we're raising awareness.
It just doesn't...
Because no one knows about breast cancer. They're raising awareness.
Well, I wasn't using pink shirt to refer to breast cancer. I was just...
Oh, okay.
It had nothing to do... By what I said had nothing to do with breast cancer. It was more or less, we could come up with some cause and, put a crowd of people out and virtue signal all day.
Is there a pipeline being put in anywhere?
Well, it's... Pro-choice is the cool thing. It was absolutely out of line, crazy, insane, all the adjectives you could come up with that Mike Pence happened to speak at a pro-life rally and say that it wouldn't surprise him, paraphrasing, if legal abortion was banned in our lifetime. That was... The fact that he said that was, you would think he was actually conducting abortions with the reaction. That was
Yeah.
But it's all upside down, dude.
Well, they're out to get Mike Pence.
Well, he hates gays, which I doubt that's true.
Yeah, I don't think that's true either.
Because he's a professed Christian, and that would be very odd that he hates gays.
Yeah.
I know we're lumped in with the crowd that,
Westboro Baptist, baby.
But that we're not like that. But yeah, I don't know. It is just... I think it's actually in a book somewhere where up will be down, down will be up, something like that.
Something like that. I think it's backwards. In one of the later chapters.
Yeah, basically the reversal of morals kind of.
Yeah, Sodom and
climate.
Gomorrah.
What book was that?
Yeah.
Sodom and Gomorrah, that's right. That's in, the Bible, that's right. Yeah, it's in that book. Yeah, that's right. It is in there. Yeah, it is in there. And I'll be darned if we're not seeing it right in front of our face.
One of the... As I was first starting this journey, one of the things, I was kind of, because, in the beginning when you start to see it, you're kind of like, really? Really? Yeah. And you're in that really mode for, some undetermined amount of time. And when I was in my really mode, they had that article, which I referred to a dozen times on different shows. They had an article about microchipping people in their head.
Yeah.
You know, and then people talk about, it's incredible. Now I don't have to come out with my switch card, I don't have to swipe my card for copies. I just wave my hand. And I'm just like, how does nobody see, even at the time, secular me?
I know, dude.
Put a post on Facebook. I think I've read about this somewhere.
Yeah.
What book was it in?
Yeah, where was this at? Where did we get this concept from? Yeah. And it may not be a microchip. We don't know, right? We don't know that's what it's going to be.
I got a buddy with a pretty good idea what it is.
But why put that? Why even take that? Because like you said, you would never do it. You would never do if they were like, here, we're chipping people. It's going to be so cool.
Yeah, no thanks.
We're going to tie it to all your bank stuff, and
no thanks.
Immediately the red flag goes off in most people's heads.
And then when I get mugged in Detroit,
I mean,
instead of stealing my wallet, they're going to chop off my hand.
They're going to
if
dig
nothing
up your
else,
yeah, give me a microchip. Well, that's they could. You can actually buy stuff for a while because it's like stealing a credit card.
I mean, I can't dial my phone with only one hand.
I mean, they would have at least some time before they would catch up with the system and turn your chip off. But then once they turn your chip off, you literally don't exist anymore.
Exactly.
So you got to hope they fire it back up right because, when somebody, dude, that's just weird. So when you run out of hands.
Exactly, because they're going to put one in the other hand, and if you get mugged again,
and they'll put it in your forehead.
Where are they going to put it?
In your forehead. That way, it's convenient.
Yeah,
anything else would be strange. You can't put it in your pocket.
Right.
You'd be humping every checkout.
Yeah.
So in your forehead's convenient. And if they chop your head off, it doesn't matter at that point because you're dead anyway. There's no need for your chip to be turned back on. That's very strange. I never connected that before, but anyway.
Yeah.
But it would be like anything. Oh, we're going to start putting these barcodes on you. And it's for medical records. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to sign up for that, right? You're totally going to be all about that, right?
I am right there.
Yeah, because it'll save paper.
I'm all about saving the rainforest.
Yeah. No, not doing that.
Yeah. I am not for... There is already, with all the computers and your Social Security number, your driver's license number, all that stuff, there is already way too much that people can find out about any one of us. Well, with a little bit of computer knowledge.
What's scary about it?
I don't need more.
What's scary about that? What you just said is, with basically what would amount to an interruption of electricity, or some malfunction.
Right.
That if all that information disappeared, you literally don't exist. You can't even prove your identity anymore.
Yeah.
So you would be disconnected from your life completely. You wouldn't even be able to access anything. You would have no... If you're not in the system, you're not in the system.
Right.
Well, if it's you produced the... No, I lost it. I can't, whatever. Yeah, all the money in the bank. You can't prove it's yours.
Right. And there's two thoughts I have on that. The first thought is, first of all, the system, which we've seen that the larger the system grows, the more it encompasses, the more it controls, the more it's responsible for, it only gets less efficient and worse.
Well, they always centralize. So, yeah, of course, it turns into a lumbering monster that can't do anything.
So it doesn't get anything done. So why would jumping deeper into the system, going deeper into the matrix, why is that going to be a good thing? And but I guess that was really my point.
Well,
it's like why would I want to get deeper in the system?
No, you wouldn't want to, but other people would want you to, because then it makes controlling you a lot easier. I know that sounds like tin hat, whatever, but it's true. I mean, if you have everything centralized, everyone's stuff, like basically like they have it now, I mean, you're under the thumb completely, dude. You don't have any recourse really outside of the system. So nothing local anymore. I mean, you couldn't even go down to the local, city hall building.
Well, sooner or later, you might not be able to cross state lines.
Talk to your cousin's whoever's buddy who'll hook you up because he knows you.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore, dude.
Nope.
Cannot. So that's we've slowly they're very close to completely deleting humanity from our culture. And that may very well be the point.
And do you have any idea why they haven't as of yet?
What?
I'm going to refer to the Second Amendment.
Well, that's true.
Because that's I honestly believe that is a large part of why they're trying to control guns.
Of course. Well, that is the reason why. Is
the end game is they can't get us on board like they did all of the moronic countries in Europe.
Right.
Because in the end, we'll fight back.
That's right. It's a last ditch, and it may be futile. I get it. People say, well, what are you going to do up against a tank? Well, you know what? The thing is it doesn't matter at that point. At least they know that if they ever make a move like that, there will be blood in the streets, dude, in this country. They know this. And that is absolutely a brick wall between us and all-out tyranny. I mean, we're in a soft tyranny right now, I would argue.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's getting a little bit more serious. But, you know, the police state is well underway, and the only thing stopping... Because you're never going to win, so it's stupid anyway. They'll just bomb your house, or just hit, what are you going to do against tanks and jets and helicopters? What do you think people should be able to own that stuff too? You get into this circular craziness.
Oh yeah.
When that's not the point. The point isn't. That's not the point. The point is that it's known, it's there, it's kept us. Other than geography, because you'll have military guys say geography is really the reason, but it's a mindset too. And there's an emotional reaction to it where it has stopped people from invading. Just the idea that they don't have any idea who has what, where it is. Mm-hmm. And this is a famous quote from a Japanese general. He said, no, you go there, talking about here, behind every blade of grass there's a gun. You never make it past the coast in the United States. You're crazy to try to invade the mainland. Not to mention, geographically, it's impossible anyway, but... for a lot of reasons, but there's always that. So there's that, and everyone knows we're not allowed to operate. Our military is not allowed to operate on domestic soil. There's a specific law for this. So what is it then? That's part of the reason for this. We don't want military. We don't want a standing army in the streets because we actually kicked that out. Those guys knew what that was like. So we have our own reserve army, which is the citizenry. It's us. We've never really needed it, thank God, but it's there if we do. And not to mention the ability to defend yourself. I mean, you have to be able to defend yourself, just in general, not necessarily against the government. I mean, that's your right to life. So sometimes you have to protect your life. So you have that. But they would literally have to... They would get to a point where to do this, logistically speaking, it's impossible. So I don't even know what they're talking about. They would... If it was some kind of crazy takeover, they would literally get to the point where you're just going to have to, most of the people you're just going to have to kill.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to live a slave. So they're going to refuse. They're not going to do what you want them to do. You're going to get a lot of people that are mashed potatoes and will... They don't get this concept. They don't understand that, this thing called liberty is a big deal. And once you don't have it anymore, it's almost impossible to get back, especially once you've had it already. It doesn't work that way very often. So that's the Second Amendment, dude. That keeps... It's the last remaining fortification as far as society's concerned. Every other place, there's really not another place like it.
Well, on top of, but you're looking at 100 years of, they've spent 100 years trying to remove God from society, and then shortly after they started that war, they started the war against patriotism, the war that says that. We're brought up to believe that our forefathers thought they were special as Americans, that America was a special country. And, things happen. There are bad people everywhere. There have been bad decisions by presidents and generals and, all across the board. But the bottom line is we still are a special country. There are things, there are opportunities here, there are resources here that aren't anywhere else on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, even at the most simple level, the structure is unique.
Absolutely.
So in that regard, if anyone wants to argue that point, that this place is not special...
But shortly after they start removing God, they started removing American pride. And now, it's to a point where they're bashing America on a consistent basis by bringing up slavery and women's rights and gays and the whole 9 yards. And what they're doing is they're making you ashamed to be an American. So why would you defend it when you're ashamed of it? I mean, blow it up. Socialism, bring it on. Come on, Bernie.
Well, of course. And that's why
you're gonna make it all better. No. But then they'll tell you that, well, we're gonna do it differently. We're gonna do it better. It's like, but we're not special. How could we do it any better than anybody else? Because we're not special here, right?
Well, no, they think they're smarter, and those other guys that tried it and failed were racist.
Oh yeah.
So that's what they got wrong.
Because the guys that invented socialism and all that stuff, they weren't smart. They weren't smart at all.
Well, they were, and they were also racist too. So that's why that was their failure mode. That's the argument you hear.
Okay.
So, and we're smarter now. We're more advanced. Society's evolved. Which clearly it has not at all.
Not even micro
at all.
Yeah.
We have technology now, but other than that, people are still about how they ever were. There's really not a big change. I mean, if you think that it used to be really violent and nasty and terrible, and it was, and there were moments in history that were terrible, but in general, even though
but it hasn't. It's no less terrible and nasty than it used to be. We just hide it better. There are two things going on. They hide it better, and they have absolutely brainwashed the largest percentage of the population to not even believe that we could be doing it, so it's not happening.
I know.
I close my eyes, so it's not there.
Well, that's that mindset is important to note, because even though this violence and all of this stuff continues to this day elsewhere in the world, these kids here don't actually see it.
Right.
So it's really easy for them to sit in their comfy.
Well, look at the difference in what is it? It's 18, so 70 years. Okay, say roughly 60, 70 years. You got McCarthy in the 50s talking about Russia, and look at the way they painted Russians and communists and the Reds and all that stuff, and juxtapose that 60, 70 years later. We're at war with terrorists who are largely Muslim and Muslim extremists.
Yeah.
Right. Not the good Muslims. We're not those Muslims who subscribe to the religion of peace.
Right.
We're talking about the bad Muslims.
Right.
Muslims are our friends. And don't you dare talk against a Muslim, because whatever Muslim you're talking against is not the Muslim you should be talking about.
Well, and at the same time, you got these kids flying literally the communist flag at political rallies.
Yeah.
In the U.S.
Oh yeah.
Now they're
burning the American flag.
Now they want communism.
I know people who want socialism, and they can't even make a good argument for it. It's just that book is on the shelf next to their their atheist handbook, and so it makes sense to them.
Well, the thing about it,
I mean, I would love to ask Dawkins what he thinks about socialism. Has he ever spoke on that?
I have no idea. I try to tune him out as much as possible.
Well, again, but even him and Hitchens, both of those guys are kind of jerks, but they're very intelligent. They're wrong.
I would guess them to be probably democratic socialists, which that adjective doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Change the nature of it.
Yeah, I would love to see where they're at in socialism, because I mean, if they're really that smart,
well, they should know the answer.
Oh, they should.
What's the best way?
Yeah,
it ain't that. But the problem with it is these people that, like you said, because it's the book that's on the shelf, and on paper it sounds great.
Yeah.
But they're assuming that their life won't be altered if they actually implement this. They think other people's lives will be... Well, no, they think what's going to happen is that it'll lift up everyone else's life to be at least equal with theirs, or a little bit below, but... They don't think that for a minute their life is going to change, or they're going to have to give anything up, or it's a little bit delusional. I mean, they don't really think that. Well, they're going to come take my stuff too, and pretty much nobody will have anything.
Right, because it's all about giving to the people who have less.
Like I said, it sounds good on paper, dude.
Yeah.
It does. It's it's great for, campfire dreaming. But the fact of the matter is, the reality of it is, the whole thing is a mechanical failure, if anything. But it is odd to see, though. I mean, kids wrapping themselves in the hammer and sickle and going to protests, and wow, amazing. How many people were slaughtered under that flag?
Under which flag?
The one with the hammer and sickle on it? A lot. Let's just say that.
Tons.
100 million, maybe?
Something like that.
Time all said and done. With what that stands for. So that's it. But yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we want now.
Because it's different.
Well, it's going to fix everything.
Oh, you know it.
It'll fix everything.
You know it. I agree.
So, the whole gun thing, okay, we can, let's use China as an example, only because I have firsthand experience with this there. Say, somebody who works at a bar and they show up to work one day, and the owner of the bar is in the kitchen with his throat slashed, he's stabbed a bunch of times, and his hands are cut off. So he's dead. And you find out about this, you're like, wow, that's crazy. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And this actually happens quite a bit. A lot of people get murdered there. They don't report it, but it happens constantly. But they can't own guns there. Now you can do a per capita thing. This is more complex than just whether there's guns or not. Right? It's more complex. I mean, you look at models like Chicago versus,
Chicago, which is the model of what I want my city to be.
So, this is more complicated than just whether there's guns or not. But if you just want to keep it elementary, that guy got slaughtered in his place of business, dude. Now, not only did he not have a gun to defend himself, but neither did the attackers. They didn't have guns either.
Right.
But that's weird. He's still dead.
But if they didn't have guns, then he's probably not really dead.
How'd they kill him without guns?
Well, they probably didn't.
They can't, obviously. So he faked his own death, I guess.
He must have.
He's in Hawaii.
Suicide.
He's in Hawaii.
I think it was a suicide.
He embezzled a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And he fled to Hawaii. No, they murdered him with a knife.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change. I totally understand where they're coming from with this, to make it harder to get these things.
Sure. That
kid in Florida should have been red flagged already.
Most of these mass shootings we're talking about, and with all the talk we're having in Florida, I still want to know what happened to Las Vegas. I mean, that totally disappeared. We know nothing about that shooter. We know nothing about that situation. I think it's worse in Florida because it was innocent kids that were killed.
It's all bad.
But there was exponentially more people hurt and wounded and killed
it's all bad.
In Las Vegas. Where's the information on that?
Well, I think because people were balking about that, right? That was the chatter. Like, oh, Las Vegas, just forget about it now. It'll just go away. Because, it was the whole thing's crooked. There's something up with that whole situation in Las Vegas. I'm not sure what.
Oh, maybe that goes along with the gun thing. That if you're murdered in Las Vegas, you're not actually murdered.
Well, I don't know, but because everyone was kind of clamoring about it, I can't prove this, but you just look at the news stories. A few other news stories have popped up about this since, like recently, probably just thrown out there just so people will shut up. But it was like, it really didn't matter. Like, they found her fingerprints on some of the ammunition. Okay, so what?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So does she have something to do with it or not? Like, it just threw it out there for, it's kind of useless information.
Yeah.
It doesn't clear up anything at all. And then they came out and said, his autopsy results didn't reveal a motive. Does it ever?
Yeah. He didn't swallow a note explaining everything?
Does it, I mean, what were they looking for exactly as far as a motive? I mean, if it's true what they said, he killed himself, right? That's what they say.
That's what they say.
I think he was Swiss cheese, but
yeah, he was Swiss cheese.
That's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so beyond the bullet wound that killed him, what are they looking for? Illness that made him snap?
Mental illness?
Well, an autopsy wouldn't reveal that, so I don't think. There may be some radical things it could find, but I mean, for the most part, If you're a sick, twisted individual, I don't think an autopsy reveals that.
Probably not.
Okay, maybe they were looking for, like, you know, I don't know, a terminal disease, so that maybe they could say maybe he snapped because he was going to die anyway. It doesn't really explain often almost however many people he killed, but
and why the targets and the targets he chose,
and the targets he didn't choose, by the way.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me. But that was a news story, and again, it's probably just hey, we're still on it. Autopsy didn't reveal any motive, so that's that.
And none to see here.
And then we found her fingerprints on some of the ammo. That's interesting. Why is that interesting? I mean, he had shit at his house, so she could have touched it, packed something, whatever.
She could have cleaned it off the kitchen table,
So I don't know, dude. It just, but you're right. It just disappeared off the face of the planet.
I find that odd.
It is odd, but
I mean, I got other fish to fry, so I don't find
Florida.
it odd enough to deeply research.
No, but Florida.
But Florida.
And because it's kids, and this could very well be the dirty trick, actually. Because it's kids, you almost can't talk about it unless you're demanding they rip the Second Amendment from the Constitution by its jugular vein.
Right, because it's kids.
Because it's kids. If you say anything else, you hate kids, you want kids to die.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. Or, don't you have kids in school? Aren't you worried? I'm like, yeah, I am, actually. But do I think anything that you've come up with will prevent that? No. You could drive a truck through the building. Whatever.
Yeah.
Bomb it. I mean, there's all kinds of ways.
Right. They need to ban fertilizer and oil drums.
Everything. Whatever. I mean, how hard would it be to, I mean, you could poison them at lunch. There's all kinds of things you could do. It doesn't always have to be a gun. But did this kid who was in the system since he was a kid in special ed facilities, and then when he turned 18, he could choose to deny treatment, which by this time, I'm guessing, I don't know this, but I'm guessing that kid was a walking pharmacy by this time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know whether he was coming or going.
Hey, maybe they should ban special ed.
Well, didn't they? Kind of? I think they kind of did. I mean, it was an outright ban, but they put those kids in the mainstream, general population with the rest of the prisoners.
Yeah, gen pop. Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. I've thought about it a little bit. Like, what would be the best way to deal with this if it's really an organic thing that's just happening, which I don't necessarily believe. I mean, what do you do? There's got to be a way to bump up security. And how much of it, I wonder, too, this would be an interesting research project. I might actually get death threats out of it. If you try to look into how much of not having security at schools has to do with the unions, that would be an interesting little dig around.
I'm sure they got their finger in it somewhere.
Or not. They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And they won't let them do anything because it's a union shop, which is weird that it is even a union shop when it's our children we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
These are all... See how complicated this is, dude?
I got you.
This is alphabet soup, man. A through Z, it's all there, and it's not... All this knee-jerk stuff is not going to do anything but make it worse.
No.
So, I don't know. I don't know, dude.
Well,
it's sad to see, dude, because now these kids aren't learning anything.
Mm-mm.
They're literally just walking in every day wondering if today's the day they're going to get evacuated or everyone's on edge and all the crap flying around. You should see some of these articles the kids are tweeting out and sharing about the NRA. Oh, my God, dude.
Oh, yeah.
It couldn't get more irrational.
Nope.
I'm not a huge fan of the NRA. I'm not against them either. I was even a member for a while. It's a decent organization. They fight for Second Amendment rights, although mainly incorrectly, but whatever. No problem there. But to label them a terrorist organization and that they kill kids, and then these kids are believing it, and now all of a sudden the NRA...
That's just a little bit of a stretch.
Well, now the NRA is the same as the IRA or ISIS or, insert whack job group name here. And it's actually not... The resources provided by the NRA are vast and have accomplished quite a bit, I would argue. from education, etc. This is not a fly by the seat of your pants cowboy organization. It's very organized. It's very organized. They're very professional.
Chuck Aston's involved, man.
And they know what they're talking about when it comes to guns. Now, they may have the Second Amendment a little bit off, but that's not what I'm talking. I'm talking specifically guns as far as like home safety and what they get involved with training and just expertise.
And discounts.
And discounts to airlines, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
FedEx,
bummed out, man. I mean, you know. But again, that's, you know, if I'd have known, I probably would have cut my membership, dude.
Heck yeah.
So, but no, that's what's going on in these kids' minds. And you opened up with bad parenting. If you don't logically think, then you don't know that you're a bad parent. So,
yeah, exactly.
This message is falling on deaf ears anyway.
Exactly.
But, you know, that's the biggest thing I could say is talk to your kids and make sure you're giving them not the dogmatic, extreme response that you feel from your emotional state of mind.
Try and do something rational and maybe something original that you came up with yourself.
Yeah, or copy me. So
Yeah,
you have,
copy me.
You have
That's fine.
people that are all the way on the left. You point this out to your kids. And I maybe I fall into that category, talking to Johnny after school. And I kind of fall that direction, let's say. I don't, but I'm just saying.
Right.
For this illustration. But then there's other people that believe this and go all the way to the far other side of it. And you say, honestly, you know, the truth is really somewhere in the middle there.
Yep.
Which is another upside-down thing. The Constitution is moderate document, and they claim now that it's far right. So they've trashed it. It's over.
Well, I know one thing. We're certainly not going to answer all those questions and solve it in one show.
No.
But I do have some answers that are irrefutable. It's in the Bible. Pick it up.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor. Read it. It's
Yeah.
the only way you're getting off this prison planet, man. We're not talking about 100 years living here. We're talking about eternity, man. Just pick it up.
Yeah, there's no end to that one.
You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's been Down the Rabbit Hole. We will be back with you next week.